There's nothing around Milwaukee in the sports business that is as old a relic as Bob Wanek.
In fact, when I grew up, we used to fashion out of a coat hanger a round thing and stuck it in the woodwork, and we used to shoot ping pong balls, my brother and I, and that was the start of basketball. I played until I was 35. In fact, I had a hoop on my garage, and I used to go out and shoot 100 free throws every night. Got married. Doctor said, you can play as long as you play every year, you're fine. But once you stop, don't go back. Hi there, I'm Bob. Wanek's the last name. Scorekeeper for Milwaukee Bucks and head of the stats crew. Working with numbers started when I was young. I always enjoyed numbers, and even when I was in school in English class, I'd write numbers because I like to see them. Putting them together, there's always a finite answer. If there's not a finite answer, then you got to start over. I started out in high school. I was out for basketball, and the dye from the socks got into the athlete's foot and caused an infection to go up my groin. So around Christmas time, I was settled in the bed for 2 weeks. And when I came back, the coach said, well, I guess you can't play for a while. I said, yeah, well, that's true. He said, how'd you like to be a manager? And I said, what does a manager do? And he said, well, you pass out the basketballs before practice and you collect them after practice. I said, oh, and then you keep score. I said, oh, okay, I never did that before. He said, you'll learn. Everybody says, graduated mathematics major, you must have been pretty smart. And I keep saying, the only A I got was in statistics. And nobody believes that. In fact, I had to get a D in Spanish in my senior year to graduate. And I did.
You know, Bob's not a young guy at this stage. And I'm admired his work because his job, you cannot make mistakes. You can't miss things. And Bob never does.
What time was Bohemian second foul?
7:39.
In most cases, the officials feel that anything that I have is correct, and they don't listen to the computer or the scoreboard or that. It should be the same. We'll double check it. Giannis, Parker, Plumlee, Middleton and Mayo for them, George, Turner, Mahami, Ellis, and Hill. Let it rip.
When I was there, I used to call Bob the commissioner because Bob never missed a thing. He had all the names, he knew all the people. He knew where everything was and almost every speck of dust was in the building. Bob ran that joint.
Well, I still call him the commissioner. To this day, when I go down to the arena, I walk in usually 2 to 2.5 hours prior to the game. Bob is there as well, and we always greet, and I'm always greeting him as commissioner. How you doing tonight?
Wayne Emery gave me the title of commissioner, and that stuck with John, and he says, how are you, commissioner, every time we see one another. They did that because they said I knew everything about basketball, and they didn't.
Stucky.
5, 2 3-pointers, 3 4, 2 fouls, 15.
Like one of the things they wanted to know a couple years ago was who scored the first basket for Milwaukee. And no one seemed to have it, even the Bucks didn't have it. So I went through my memorabilia and we found out John McLaughlin was the one that scored the first basket ever.
I didn't remember it, and until 8 or 10 years ago when Bob is the one that told, because he went back to the score sheet. And in those days they were mimeographed. They were handwritten and printed. He's got all that.
I do have a scorecard from every basketball game that's ever been played since 1968.
I remember going to Bob's house for the first time, and it's like being in a time capsule. Anything that you might need in Bucks history, they could go to Bob, and I would be willing to bet that he would have it.
As we come through one of the bedrooms, we come to the box room. Wife Kathy is here.
Hi, I'm Kathy. Welcome to the box bedroom.
It's all the stat sheets from 1968 until present. Or we've got some downstairs too, but basically most of it's here.
Sure.
91, 92, 81, 82. 1987 playoffs. Milwaukee and Boston. Milwaukee won 121 to 111.
This is how they looked all the years I played. This is extremely familiar. Is this Bob's handwriting? Yeah. See, they had to write clearly.
I would tell you that the original Milwaukee Buck is John McLaughlin. But right behind that, of course, was the hiring of Bob Warnick. And Warnick would have to qualify, certainly, as one of the original Milwaukee Bucks in the organization.
And I've been fortunate to work with both Bob and John McLaughlin in my job. And yeah, those are the only two people that have been here since day one.
In that first year, in our first game, I remember playing against the Chicago Bulls in the old arena. That's the first time that I was aware of the stat crew and the official crew, and the first time I met Bob Warnick.
John McLaughlin was the original Buck. I mean, I just tagged along for the fun of it. That's nice. It's like you say, you don't see him for a couple of months, and all of a sudden you see him again. It's just like old times. And you're, like I said, back and then, as in now, he's part of the family. Terry Tots is another close friend of mine, so it's nice to have those people like that.
My first NBA game that I ever went to was in 1968-69, the inaugural season of the Milwaukee Bucks. I was living in Marshfield, Wisconsin, and my dad, a basketball coach, took me to a game. Little did I know, Bob Warnick was the scorekeeper of that game. He was a part of my history in many ways. Obviously, the first game that I ever went to, being an assistant and a head coach in Milwaukee and having a relationship. One of the things that's always been special about the Bucks organization is it was a family, and Bob was certainly part of that family.
We had some of the players stop by, and Lenny Chappell especially, he'd drop in and he'd plunk down on our living room couch and said, "Let's watch basketball," and we'd talk for a whole evening. We interacted more often. We socially got together. Every Christmas, Larry Costello, the coach, would throw a Christmas party for everybody and their families. So it was a lot different than it is now.
Big Bob.
How are you?
How you doing, Bob?
Glad to see you.
Man, good to see you, Bob.
Great here.
Man, you've been here since the beginning.
Yep, he and I.
Yeah. Good to see you,
You're looking
brother.
good. Yep. You're yourself,
Good to
right?
see you, Bob. Oh, yeah.
Stop in
At
more
this
often.
age,
Yep. There's Sam Williams down there. Yeah. Good man.
I've been knowing Sam a long time.
Yes, me too. Yeah.
I know it. Yeah.
Good to see him again. Remember Sam Williams?
Yeah.
Down there in that corner with McLaughlin.
Back then, the Milwaukee Bucks were very family-oriented, and it was a very tight-knit group. We worked long hours. We wore a lot of hats. Everybody pitched in. Everyone loved what we did, and Bob Warnick, the commish, was certainly a part of that.
The glory days, really, in my opinion, were the first 5 years they were here. They grew up quickly, and they survived quickly, and they succeeded quickly. And I guess now it takes longer to do all that. Oscar Robertson, he's one of the best. To this day, he comes in, he's very friendly, but he was strong. Could guard a player, and he could lift them up from the hip with his one hand. And Oscar was also instrumental in keeping the locker room straight and narrow. I won't say who the player was, but one time Oscar told him, either you're going to play the way you should play, or I'm going to kick you right in the ass and out of here. And that player shaped up real good.
Of the top 100 scorers in the history of the NBA, they all came through Milwaukee except for Dolph Schayes, Bob Pettit, and Bob Cousy. Out of 100. He's seen them all. They've all come through, and he's been a part of NBA history.
Jabbar, Barry, Julius Erving, George McGinnis, Bob McAdoo, Pistol Pete Maravich. Take your hat off to these guys, boy. They paved the way, and they made it an exciting game. I mean, you never saw guys play like, Pistol Pete Maravich come down on the fly, take it between the legs, dish it off to a trainer while he's looking to the left side, and then finish off on the drive. I mean, this is incredible stuff. This was the game. I broadcast this game, yeah. Bob was the scorekeeper. Bob and I shared a little time there. Like I said, man, a lot of imitators, but not many innovators.
Are you busier when we play LeBron? Is there certain players that are...
He's different. At least they finally stopped him. He used to come up and clap his hands with that powder, and now they won't let him do that anymore. because it was getting into our drink and the book. And
one comment about Bob, or a moment that I think back on, is just the constant of Bob being there. It's like when I walk into the arena, he's someone you just see all the time. You know, when either he decides to hang it up or I'm not doing this anymore, or whatever the situation might be, I think that's the one moment that will seem odd to me, is someone else doing that job.
oh, I think without it, I don't know what I'd be doing, to be real honest with you. It's just part of my life. I have to be doing something. You can ask Kathy. She said, you just don't slow down. And I said, well, I try not to.
Don, you want a list sheet?
Good or bad news?
Don Domes. Good. You play tonight?
Yes.
Good.
Average crew?
No, I'm not
Yeah.
playing tonight.
Oh, okay.
Thank you, sir.
Straighten out the crew, will you?
He's one of those unique characters in the state of Wisconsin that should be very valued. The good relationship he's had with the different PR people through the years, you know, to see that carry through, it says a lot about the personality and the character of the guy.
Anybody who takes my place is going to be totally different. They're going to do their own thing their own way. I wouldn't even know who to recommend to take my place. So I guess if I left, it'd be up to the Bucs staff to pick somebody.
It's a great moment, Bob. And you've been a part of every home game in those 50 years. They ought to take your scorebook and sink it into concrete with a handprint and a pencil beside it. Because, man, you have written down a lot of numbers over the years, and you are responsible for doing a lot of tremendous things for the Milwaukee Bucks and the game of basketball in this community over that period of time.